really confused what to believe, because my dad says we come from AIDS, and you say that you are coming from God's family according to the Bible. And the mommy replied, look son, I can only tell you where I am coming from. And that shows that father was an atheist and mother was a believer. And so here we understand that we are coming from the Lord. And God said to the Adam and Eve, after blessing them, He said, be fruitful and multiply. Another things that we can see in the Bible, actually marriage also linking a covenant between man and God when there is a marriage. If you read in Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 32 says, I'm going to do something new. I'm going to make a covenant, not the old covenant that I made with your forefathers, a new covenant. And it says your forefathers broke the covenant, though I was a husband for them. So we can understand when we see the marriage, there is a link between the present marriage we see and the heavenly marriage to be taking place when Jesus Christ coming after that, when we are caught up in the rapture. I wanted to share with you some of the important pillars of marriage. A few pillars I wanted to share so that you can have a successful marriage. Number one is a communication. Every family problem can be solved if you try to learn communicate each other. Oftentimes, and I've been a counselor for a long time, and people come to me and they say they have issues in the family. When we sit and talk, most of their problem is resolved because of talking. Even the Bible, when you say the communication, there are two ways we can think about. One is communicating with God. Psalm 127, the Bible says, unless the Lord build the house, the builders labor in vain. And so when we come together as a family, the best thing is to communicate to God. Share all our problem in the family, and the Lord will really solve it. That has been my experience too. Whenever we have some problem, come and pray, the Lord answers our prayer. And so in the communication, when God speaking in John chapter, Jesus Christ was speaking in John chapter 10, verse 27, it says, my sheep will hear my voice. My sheep will listen to me. This is one of the greatest ingredients of a communication, that we need to really listen to one another. So we need to learn patience, and so most of our problem can be solved if you really be a good listener. And our spouse expects us to speak. When I got married, I did not know how to speak because I came from Kerala. It's a good place. But as a man, we would not talk much. That may be my family. We may not talk much. So when I would visit my wife's house, she would be waiting for me to come and explain what happened. And she would ask me, how are you, and have you been to my house? Yes, I said, I've been to your house. And what did they say? They said everything is okay. So she had to ask so many questions to me. And finally she got fed up. One day I asked her, honey, what are you really expecting from me to tell you? She said, this is what I expect. You have to go and tell. You have to explain to me whom you met, how they really treated you, whether they were hospitable to you, did they ask about me? Right. So now I understood that she wanted to know something about her. There's nothing wrong. So I said, the first thing they ask you, where are you, how are you? And she's very happy. So we need to really learn to express ideas, and so that people will understand this is what I am doing. And also, we understand in the communication process, there are a few things that we need to remember. Number one is, there should be a concreteness. What is the meaning of concreteness? Means in the family there will be different issues that you're going to face. And if you sit together and try to resolve all the issues, it will not work out. Take one at a time, sit with them and talk to them, so that will really resolve that issue. And then we can understand that empathy should be there in the communication. What is empathy? Somebody really wanted to share they are burdened with you, and then you have to, just give attention to the spouse, what they are trying to speak to us. Oftentimes we divert our, attention to different places. And so a good communicator always trying to empathize with the spouse when they share. For an example, you're going through some problem, you wanted to share with your spouse. So when they actually speak, to have an empathetic response. Says, yes, I understand, you're going through such problem, but I am there with you. This is what the spouse is expecting from us. So therefore, always in a communication, what we expect is an empathy. And in a communication, our tone is also very important. I read a story some times ago. Queen Elizabeth and King Philip had a little arguments. And so what King Philip went and closed his door, he was sitting inside. The queen went and knocked the door and said, here I am the King of Elizabeth, King of England, open the door. And Philip did not open it. Again said, I am Queen Elizabeth, open it. He did not respond. In spite of all knocking, he did not respond. Finally she decided, let me ask him grace. And so very graciously she said, honey, I am your wife, Elizabeth. And he opened the door. This is how even the graceful word can really ease the situation in our life. In the communication, these are very important things when we communicate. Listen properly, have a concreteness, and have an empathetic attitude, have an empathetic response. That will help you to resolve your issue. The second thing I wanted to share with you is the pillar of appreciation. In psychology, we call it as a positive stroke. It is very important for a family. It will really strengthen your self-awareness, self-confidence in our life. That always, whenever you see something, you need to really appreciate one another, which is very important thing in life. So, I studied some times ago the effect of appreciation. Scientists took 10 rabbits. They wanted to experiment how it reacts. And they put it in a cage, 5 in one cage, the another 5 in another cage. And they fed the same food to these 10 rabbits. After 5 rabbits, the scientists would go and sit there and feed them by hand and pat them. Another 5, they used to throw the food to the another 5 rabbits. After some time, they collected 10 rabbits and they injected some bacteria, wanted to see how the immunity level of this rabbit. The 5 which the food was thrown, it could not survive for a long time. But the 5 which was fed by hand and patted, it survived for a long time. That shows that the positive thought, appreciation is very important thing in our life. Whenever you see something, you need to appreciate. Sometimes we feel that, you don't have to do it, but every time that we should not be flattery, our appreciation